Hey, welcome back! Today we're looking at Hamlet, Act IV, scenes 5 through 7, in which the long-term repercussions of Hamlet's murder of Polonius finally come into play, particularly those of Polonius' children, Laertes and Ophelia. Hamlet had been sent off to England, and he was sailing away, watching Fortinbras as he headed out of the country. We pick back up in scene 5 with the Queen talking with a gentleman about the state of Ophelia. Now, after her boyfriend murders her dad, Ophelia's not in a good place. The gentleman describes her saying, "She speaks much of her father, says she hears there's tricks in the world, and hymns, and beats her heart, spurns envious at straws, speaks things in doubt that carries but half sense. Her speech is nothing, yet the unshaped use of it doth move the hearers to collection. They aim at it, and botch the words up fit to their own thoughts, which, as her winks and nods and gestures yield them, indeed would make one think there might be thought, though nothing sure, yet much unhappily." So she's walking around saying all kinds of crazy things. She's kind of out of her head now. And everything she says makes people begin to suspect that there's something darker going on with the death of Polonius. Apparently it was pretty hushed up, and everyone is wondering what really happened here. So Ophelia comes in and begins singing all of these songs that again make a kind of half sense. As we see often with madness in literature, there's a kind of truth to the words of the insane that helps us to identify things more profoundly than the simple and superficial realistic. She sings a song about St. Valentine's Day, which hints that the things between her and Hamlet were more than simply flirting. "Quoth she, before you tumbled me, you promised me to wed." He answers, "So would I ha' done by yonder sun, had thou not come to my bed." The king and queen feel sympathetic towards Ophelia, and they wish they could help her, but she doesn't seem to respond to anything that they say. And as she leaves, she says, "My brother shall know of it, and so I thank you for your good counsel." The king decides that she needs to be watched by Horatio and his other servants. As Ophelia exits, the king recaps everything that's been going wrong since Polonius' death. Polonius is gone, Hamlet's gone away, Ophelia's gone crazy, everybody in town is talking about what's happened. They had to bury Polonius really fast to try to cover up the scandal, but it only spread anyway. And now there's rumor that Laertes is coming home. Not just rumor, because as soon as he's done speaking, there's a noise outside and a huge mob surrounds the castle and bursts in. The guards are thrown back and in steps Laertes at the head of a rebellion. But Laertes keeps his men outside and walks up single-handedly to face Claudius, saying, "O thou vile king, give me my father." He's come to demand what has happened to his father and to find out exactly how his father died. The big thing we immediately want to do here is compare Laertes to Hamlet. They both have their fathers killed. Now, Polonius wasn't that great of a dad. I mean, he was pretty horrible. And yet, Laertes' response is to take over an entire kingdom immediately after his father is killed to bring justice to his father's murderer. Hamlet, on the other hand, can't do anything. He just sits around and hopes something will happen. But Laertes charges home, rises a whole rebellion, takes over the castle, and confronts the king face to face. Kind of shows you also something about how strong King Claudius is as a political leader. He's pretty easy to overthrow. Laertes is screaming and cursing and fuming, and the king, we'll give him this, does face him pretty calmly. "What is the cause, Laertes, that thy rebellion looks so giant-like? Let him go, Gertrude. Do not fear our person. There's such divinity doth hedge a king, that treason can but peep to what it would, acts little of his will." That's ironic. "Tell me, Laertes, why thou art thus incensed. Let him go, Gertrude. Speak, man." Laertes demands his father, and the king admits that his father is dead. And the queen jumps in and says, "But not by him." And Laertes asks, "How came he dead? I'll not be juggled with. To hell allegiant, vows to the blackest devil, conscience and grace to the profoundest pit. I dare damnation. To this point I stand, that both the worlds I give to negligence. Let come what comes, only I'll be revenged most thoroughly for my father. I don't care what happens to me in this life or the next, as long as I can get revenge from my dad." What a contrast to poor Hamlet. When the king realizes how very thoroughly Laertes is intending to get revenge, so the king says, "Don't worry, I'll clear everything up for you and show you that I am completely innocent." Oh, but in comes Ophelia to make Laertes feel even worse than he already does. Laertes says as he sees his sister all decked in flowers and crazy, "Oh, heat, dry up my brains. Tears 7 times salt burn out the sense and virtue of mine eye. By heaven, thy madness shall be paid with weight till our scale turn the beam. O rose of May, dear maid, kind sister, sweet Ophelia. O heavens, is it possible a young maid's wit should be as mortal as an old man's life? Nature is fine in love, and where 'tis fine it sins some precious instance of itself after the thing it loves." And Ophelia begins to sing again, and as she sings again, she starts handing flowers to everyone and telling them that she picked them specially for each person. And as many of you probably know, flowers have special significance and symbolism. Each flower that she gives to each person has strong hints of symbolism associated with that person. As though in her madness she's able to see each of them and their sins and their faults. As she leaves, Laertes is overwhelmed. He's been defused by seeing his sister, and he's grieving. The king says, "Laertes, I must commune with your grief, or you deny me right. But go apart, make choice of whom your wisest friends you will, and they shall hear and judge twixt you and me." Laertes agrees, and the king says, "And where the fence is, let the great axe fall. I pray you go with me." Let's let the person who really did this take all the blame, Laertes. And we can see that the king, who has already plotted and set in motion the plan to kill Hamlet, is perfectly happy to, again, lay all the blame at Hamlet's feet. And so we see that Claudius and Laertes have mutual interests. They both want the demise of Hamlet at this point. And so they're able to work together. Although Laertes is a much purer-hearted person, Claudius is doing it all out of manipulation. But we see that Laertes can play easily into Claudius's hands here, thanks to his desire for revenge and his willingness to do anything for revenge. Poor Laertes is going through so much right now. His emotions are just palpable. His anger and his grief over the loss of his father, over the insanity of his sister. Man, this is so depressing. I feel like we just need to take a break and have some, like songs about pirates or something.
Pour, oh, pour the pirate sherry, pillow, fill the pirate glass. And to make us more than merry, let the pirate bumper pass. For today our apprentice rises, rising from indentures freed. Strong his arm and keen his senses, he's a pirate now indeed. Oh, better far to live and die, under the brave black flag I fly, than play a sanctimonious part with a pirate head and a pirate heart. Away to the cheating world go you, where pirates all are well to do. But I'll be true to the song I sing, and live and die a pirate king. For I am a pirate king, and it is a glorious thing to be a pirate king. Away, away, my heart's on fire, I burn the space deception to repay. This very night, my vengeance dire shall glut itself in gore. Away, away. Away, away, ere I expire, I find my duty hard to do today. My heart is filled with anguished ire, it strikes me to the core. Away, away. With cat-like tread, upon a prey we steal, with silence dread, a cautious way we feel. No sound at all, we dare not speak a word, a fly's footfall could be distinctly heard. Come, friends who plow the sea, ship from navigation, take another station. Let's vary piracy with a little burglary.
Well, that was fun. Act 4, Scene 6. All of a sudden we have pirates! What? Horatio receives word from a gentleman that Hamlet is on his way home. And here's a letter from him. It tells a very interesting story in which Hamlet says that their ship was overtaken by pirates and they locked together and Hamlet leapt across onto the pirate ship and began to fight the pirates, and all of a sudden the two ships separated and went their separate ways and Hamlet was taken captive by the pirates. And now he's on his way home and the pirates want some ransom for him. How convenient. But Hamlet also has a lot of important things to talk about next time he and Horatio together that he doesn't want to share in a letter. I have words to speak in thine ear will make thee dumb, yet are they much too light for the bore of the matter. These good fellows will bring thee where I am. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern hold their course for England. Of them I have much to tell thee. Hamlet's got big things to talk about, but not going to include them in the letter. Horatio's a little bit stunned by all of this, but he's like, okay, well, let's go see him. Here we go. So Hamlet's return from his trip to England, his very early return, is something of that second hope. Maybe this is another chance for Hamlet to finally do what he's supposed to do all along, and that is get Claudius. Will he finally pull through here? Scene 7. So at this point, the king has explained to Laertes the circumstance behind his father's death. And Laertes understands that it was Hamlet all along who killed his father. What he doesn't understand is why Claudius would let that slide. But tell me why you proceeded not against these feats, so criminal and so capital in nature, as by your safety, greatness, wisdom, and all else, you manly were stirred up. The king lays out 2 reasons why he didn't just off Hamlet then and there. 1 is that his mother really loves him. And 2, the people of the town and the people of Denmark really love Hamlet as well, and it just wouldn't go off very well. And Laertes says, well, that's all fine and good, except for my dad is still dead. And the king is just about to explain that there was something else he had planned on doing to Hamlet, when all of a sudden in comes a messenger with news that Hamlet is here. You shall know I am set naked on your kingdom. Tomorrow I shall beg leave to see your kingly eyes, when I shall, first asking your pardon, thereunto recount the occasion of my sudden and more strange return. It involves pirates! Claudius is flabbergasted, but he's not beaten yet. He has a plan B, and it involves Laertes. Laertes is ready to charge out and just challenge Hamlet straight up, but Claudius wants to do it the sneaky way, in a way that won't make him look bad. I will work him to an exploit now ripe in my device, under the which he shall not choose but fall, and for his death no wind of blame shall breathe, but even his mother shall uncharge the practice and call it accident. We'll make this so that we're all going to be okay. And Laertes is like, fine, I don't care as long as I'm the one who gets to kill him. And Claudius remembers a time that Hamlet got all jealous of a report about Laertes, that Laertes was a good sword fighter. He knows that Hamlet has a soft spot for jealousy about Laertes. But as he's in the middle of telling this story, he pauses and turns to Laertes and says, Laertes, was your father dear to you? Or are you like the painting of a sorrow, a face without a heart? Now, who does that really describe? Probably Hamlet. But Laertes has already proven that he's willing to even overthrow a whole kingdom for his father's honor. And the king says, well, I'm just testing you. I want to know if you're really willing to go the distance here before I tell you my thought. What would you undertake to show yourself indeed your father's son more than in words? And Laertes' reply is to cut his throat in the church. I'm willing to walk into church and kill him there. No place indeed should murder sanctuarize. Revenge should have no bounds, is Claudius's reply, which is, again, like many things Claudius says, heavily ironic. There's no place that murder is okay, but revenge should happen anywhere. Because revenge is justice, and murder is injustice. That from the sneakiest, most murderous jerk in the play. The king's plan, plan B, is to get Laertes to challenge Hamlet to a little contest, a little sword fighting contest, and it will look like just a fun little practice match. But Laertes' sword will be poisoned, so all he has to do is nick Hamlet and kill him. But after his previous failed attempt, the king isn't going to leave anything up to chance. Just in case Hamlet really does best Laertes, he's going to add a safeguard in. And that is that when they start fighting, about halfway through, Claudius is going to offer Hamlet a drink with a poisoned pearl in it. That way, whether he gets all sweaty and drinks, or gets stuck with the sword, he will die. But they're interrupted by the queen running in to tell her story. You see, Ophelia has drowned herself. She describes it like this. There is a willow grows askant the brook that shows his hoar leaves in the glassy stream. Therewith fantastic garlands did she make of crowflowers, nettles, dahlias, and long purples, that liberal shepherds give a grosser name, but our cold maids do dead men's fingers call them. There, on the pendant boughs, her crownet weeds, clambering to hang, an envious sliver broke, and down her weedy trophies and herself fell in the weeping brook. Her clothes spread wide, and mermaid-like a while they bore her up, which time she chanted snatches of old lauds, as one incapable of her own distress, or like a creature native and endued into the element. But long it could not be, till that her garments, heavy with their drink, pulled the poor wretch from her melodious lay to muddy death. She, picking flowers and putting them in her hair, slipped and fell into the water, and lay there singing until she was sucked under and drowned. Laertes says, "Too much of water hast thou, poor Ophelia, and therefore I forbid my tears. But yet is our trick, nature her custom holds, let shame say what it will." He tries to hold back his tears because she's already been drowned in too much water, but he can't, and so he runs out. And the king, who was finally getting Laertes where he wanted him, says we better follow him and keep him from getting too upset. And so comes the end of Act IV. What will happen when Hamlet comes back in the country? Will he finally act? What will happen when the king and Laertes' plot is put into action? Will Hamlet escape this? Will justice be done? Will Hamlet come to terms, finally, with the idea of death? All that and more in Act V. See you next time. And now, Laertes at the psychologist's.
So, he killed my dad, and I'm just so determined to get back at him, but I know Claudius will help me. He said he would help me, and he's given me so much good advice and so much guidance, and I just really feel like somebody's finally listening to me, and like somebody understands my need to get back at the guy who got my dad.